Saw what coming? This beatdown you're about to witness. So put on your seatbelts, strap yourself in, and let's go. Welcome to chess, ladies and gentlemen. All right, man. You guys know, we have the World Rapid and Blitz Championship going on right now. So what? I have the rapid portion for you, and so I have Wesley versus Shamsiddin Vokhidov of Uzbekistan. So all of my people that are coming from the Philippines, I would say Meraming Salamat. Anybody who is coming from Uzbekistan, I would say Rahmat. But if you guys are ready to go, man, let's take a look and see what we have. All right, man, so we got the move d4. We got knight to f6. So we start off with the Indian game. Nice and quiet. Nothing too much going on at the moment. We got knight to c3. And then we do see the move d5. And this is known as the Chigorin variation. And it is the queen's pawn opening. And very quickly, we see some London-like situations rolling. We do see bishop to f4. And this is like exclam, like, you know, like the strongest variation in the knowledge of chess. We got a bishop hitting this pawn. We got this knight hitting this pawn. And it's like, look what I can do. And you can't do anything about it at all. You'll just go down swinging. But we do see the move c5. And then we have e3. We got pawn taking d4, pawn taking d4. And then we do see a6. And it kind of looked like maybe black did have the ability to kind of do something about it. Because this is what you're thinking if you're a London player, right? Not c5. In this situation, if we have, after c5, like I said, if we have a situation where you say, hey, bro, I got all of that going on like I just got done saying, I'm going to go knight to b5, and then I'm just going to basically checkmate you like this, and you're not going to be able to do anything but give your queen away. We would be looking at queen to a5 check, and then you would have to retreat, and then you have pawn taking d4, and then it's like, oh, maybe you did have a little something that could defend that. So that is why we did not see that. We get in this position here. We got the move knight to f3. We got knight to c6. So everything all standard up to this point. We got knight to e5. Bishop goes to d7, just protecting the knight that we have on c6. And then we have bishop back to e3. And this is the novelty of the game. Yes, I know what you're thinking. It's only move number 8. And we already have the novelty? Yes, we already have the novelty. Absolutely. It is unknown in chess theory for the bishop just to drop back simply like this. I guess you are just like extra exclam protecting this pawn right here. Because why not? You want to protect your central pawns, correct? Exactly. So we do see the move e6. We got bishop to d3, bishop to d6. So both sides have pretty much done what they need to do to get themselves developed. Each side just needs to move their queen and get castled. And then everything is all good in the neighborhood. We do see knight taking c6 and the bishop taking c6. And maybe at some point this bishop is going to kind of live a good life. But right now it's kind of a tall pawn, as Jeremy Silman would say. And it's not really doing a whole lot. So look for that pawn, bishop to be redirected to some more useful diagonal at some point in the future. We got castles by white, castles by black. We got rook over to e1. Rook slides over to c8. We got bishop going to g5. One of the things you should notice for black is they do kind of want to move this queen somewhere, right? So why not pin this knight down and kind of make it a little bit less desirable for it to move? Because if the queen does move anywhere, you're going to be taking here and you are going to have a little bit of damage in front of your king. So you don't really too much want that. So the first thing we do if we're Vokhidov is try to say, hey, man, I'm going to knock your bishop away. Maybe it'll go back to e3. But we do see bishop to h4. And then you kind of give and say, hey, man, I'll go ahead and go back to e7 so that I can get my queen to move because my queen got to move, son. So we do see queen to d2. Queen goes down to b6. Tickling this pawn right here. Sometimes it's poison, sometimes it's not. We actually see Wesley so defend with rook a to b1, but you could set a trap if you wanted to. You could say, hey, man, I got a4 here. My pawn is lonely. It's all scared. Take it if you want to. But if we did see that, thinking I have just won some material because I was hungry, you would be looking at losing your queen. And this is the Botez Gambit. And where's your queen going, homie? Exactly. So all pawns are not just free for the taking. So be careful. But like I said, Wesley just said rook a b1. What else do you have? We got knight going to e4. We got knight taking e4, bishop taking h4, and then we do see the knight settling back onto g3. You're basically asking black, do you want to trade your bishop for my knight? But Vokhidov says, I do not want to do that. Let's go back bishop to g5. And let's hit your queen and see what your queen wants to do. We do see queen down to d1. We got bishop to a4. Just adding a little bit of pressure to this point here. So you see one of the things Vokhidov is actually doing very well is he is noticing whatever Wesley So has in his position that might be kind of tender or a little bit under defended and trying to just add pressure to it. You pretty much see that through the rest of the game. We got knight down to e2, protecting this pawn right here, even though there's a trap in the position. If, you know, Vokhidov just decides, hey, man, I'm hungry again, I want to get a pawn, you would be looking at bishop h7 check, and then your queen goes down, and it doesn't even go down swinging. So you definitely want to be careful with those discoveries. But knight e2 is never a bad move. We got rook to c7, knight goes to c3, answering the question to this bishop on a4. We got the bishop up back to d7. We do see knight back down to e2. We got queen over to d6, and then we do see c3. And then we have the move b5. And like I said, Vokhidov is really kind of making it tough for Wesley in this situation because, I mean, this knight really kind of wants to be here. You know, you maybe want to go b3, push c4, try to kind of bust some things open or get a pass pawn over here. But Vokhidov says, I'm going to shut that down. Come on, what are you trying to do? So Wesley definitely needs to sit and kind of figure out, you know, what is he going to try to drum up in this position. So we do see g3. We got the move b4. We do see the move h4, and, you know, now this kind of does allow the white queen to move somewhere a little bit better. You kind of want it on d2 just to add some support here type stuff, but we do see bishop going back to f6. We got queen to d2, like I said. We got the move a5, and knight goes to f4. So like I was telling you guys before, we have managed to kind of back black up a little bit, but we're having a little bit of an issue trying to, like, get this knight on a legitimate square. It's not really doing a whole lot right here, this knight. I mean, maybe you can go knight h5, but the bishop is just going to go back. And I mean, you know, you didn't really accomplish much. You know, you are, as black, trying to keep as solid as possible over here. And you do have double bishops. So we got pawn taking c3, pawn taking c3, and then immediately we see Vokhidov going rook f to c8. You have just created a weakness in white's position, so try to exploit that as best you can. So we have a massive amount of pressure on this c file, this backward pawn. Rook e goes to c1. We do see the move a4. We got bishop back to f1. We got queen down to a3. So you see that all of black's movements, like I was telling you guys before, Vokhidov is saying, hey, man, I'm seeing that you're getting kind of some weaknesses in your position. I'm trying to see if we can hit that and see what's going on. So we got these rooks barreling down. We got this queen barreling down. So not only is the queen and rooks hitting this pawn, the queen is hitting this pawn also. So it's really restricting where this queen can go. So that is one of the things, you know, that kind of separates your average player from a really strong player, is being able to accurately identify what's in your opponent's position and how you can try to tie them down and basically make their pieces, you know, kind of stuck and worthless, man. That's what we like to do. Bishop goes to a6 because the pressure was a little bit too much. So we want to kind of tickle this rook right here and move it. We got the rook sliding over to a8. We got bishop back to f1. The bishop goes up to e7. We do see rook up to c2. The bishop goes up to d6. And like I said, white is pretty nicely tied down to this here. And you definitely don't want a situation where the bishop takes and then the queen takes and you have just deserted your pawn. So we need to kind of move this knight. So we fee and kettle the knight back to g2. We got the rook sliding back over to c8. We do see a little bit of repetition right here, but Vokhidov is basically saying, bro, you know what? I want to fight you. I do not want to get any draws in the situation, so let me play a different move. So we see a rook up to d8. And I will have to say that I applaud Vokhidov's fighting spirit. I'm a fighter myself. I do not like draws whatsoever. Of course, if you're losing, I mean, you'll grasp onto a draw, but I really, really love to win, and I really love to win at the cost of a loss also. So I prefer a decisive result. We got knight up to e3. We got bishop back to e7. And then we actually see bishop back to d3 in the position. But some of you guys might be looking at the position and wondering, like, wait a minute. Can I just get rid of this backward pawn right now with the move c4? Absolutely you can, because white has all of these pieces trained on that square and it is under defended by black. So in this position, you actually were able to get rid of that major weakness that you have in your position. And then after the pawn takes, you would be looking at knight taking. That hits the queen. And it is finally possible. But like I said, we do not see that. So we do see queen going back to d6, knight going to g4. Like I said, we're still kind of having an issue trying to find a good spot for this knight to go to. We do see bishop back to e8. We got knight over to e5, which is arguably a better square. A rook c to c8. We got rook c to b2. We got queen down to a3. Rook goes back to c2, constantly trying to pressure white's position. We do see a rook to b8. Rook c goes to b2. We got bishop to d6. Rook takes, rook takes, rook takes, bishop takes, and then we do see the move knight back down to g4. I mean, it is not ideal if the bishop takes here because you would be kind of, damaging your structure a little bit, and you would be having these isolated pawns over here. It's a little bit tougher of an endgame to play. We do see king over to f8, and we take the advantage of this position, and we do now finally see the move c4, kind of giving you a little bit of breathing room. Black is definitely for choice in this position, mostly because this knight is not placed very well, and black has double bishops. And with this move right here, the position will become a little bit more open. So those factors, go into black's favor. We do see pawn taking, bishop taking, and then we do see bishop to a7. And like I said, black is constantly applying pressure to white's position. So Wesley has to be defending very well in these situations. We do see queen going over to f4. And this pawn is currently held by the bishop, but we do have a trap. Not a trap, but we have a tactic of bishop takes e6, just taking advantage of the fact that this pawn is pinned. So we see Vokhidov come back and just say, hey, man, I'm going to go ahead and just defend everything and be good to go. We do see knight going up to e5. And this is kind of sneaky. If you're not paying attention, you do have knight to g6 check forking these two pieces on tap. So you got to make sure you're defending against that. So we do see the king sliding over to g8. We got queen over to e4. The queen goes back to d8. We got the move d5. Pawn takes d5. Bishop takes d5. We do see queen down to d6. And this is tying white's queen down also because both of these pieces are hit from that move. So you have to be careful how you're moving. We just simply see king to g2. We got king over to f8. We do see bishop to c6 like I was saying before. One of black's major strengths is that they do have these double bishops. Right now, this bishop is actually trapped where it is. It can only either stay there, go here, or go here, which obviously this is a really terrible square to go to. But these two squares are possible, but this is going to be forcing a bishop trade. We do see queen going down to d4. And this is a blunder that mates the game in 9 moves. So if you want to try to pause the video and guess what the first move of the mating sequence is, go ahead and do so. Okay, so one of the things that you should be seeing is that you have double pressure on this bishop. If only this knight wasn't in the way, like if I can get the knight somewhere, where can you move the knight to make sure that you can attack this bishop along with this queen? The answer is knight to g6 with check. Now, you have a couple of problems. So this is what is known as a clearance sacrifice. It is not a super common tactic that you see like all the time in games, but it can be very powerful. And it also does check the king also. So it is a very, very forcing move in this position. The problem that you have is if you simply say, hey, I'm going to take, you're going to be looking at queen to e8, and this is checkmate, and that's the end of the game. So you do not have the ability to take this knight. So it is basically a free move in this situation. And you only really have the ability to go king to g8, which is what we see in the game. You do see queen taking e8 with check. The king slides down, and you do go knight f8 check, and this does save your knight. So you see this position right here. White is up an entire piece, and this is where the beatdown start. This is where the beatdown starts at. This knight to g6 check move, and then you get into this position here, and then the beatdown is just going to continue. So even I think Wesley so didn't see this coming. He said, I surprise myself sometimes. But anyways, this is the position that Vokhidov does resign the game. There is nothing further to be done. You are going to have to back up either to here. And let's say you go either one of those, right? It is going to be this check discovered. The king is going to have to move to here, and you're going to be looking at this, and then you are down even more material. So even if it looked bad here, it looks worse after you see this land on the board, And I mean, you take here, and what do we do? What do? You just lose the game. That's all you do. So I appreciate everybody very much for stopping by. Meron salamat ng king makaibigan. Post na nanonood ng king video. Rakamat if you are coming from Uzbekistan. And I'm going to see you guys next time.